What if I told you the ultra wealthy don't think about money the way most people do? It's not about chasing returns. It's not about stock tips, and it's definitely not about reacting to headlines. Instead, they follow a structured framework, one that coordinates every part of their financial life. And here's the part that matters to you. You don't need 25 million to use it. Today, we're breaking down the exact models they use and how you can apply it to your own financial world. Stay tuned, you're not going to want to miss this.
Welcome into Legacy Beyond Wealth. Ben George with Rob Shelton at Axio Wealth Management. And today we're talking about what we'll call the ultra wealthy framework. And this is a great video today for those that have gone, well, man, I really wish I knew what the ultra wealthy were doing and wish I could kind of pick up on some of their habits, some of their financial tips, right? But this isn't exclusive, right? This is something you can do. And it's all about structure, which we're going to break down today, Rob. And I think that's what's so important, right? Is we all kind of want to live that lifestyle. But there is actually a way to, you may not reach the ultra wealthy, some of those amounts that are out there like Elon and Bezos and those guys. But hey, you can do some things to put yourself in a really good position financially.
Absolutely. And I think, sometimes we look at the ultra wealthy that's out there and trying to be able to describe it. I sat down with a client recently, and for whatever reason, their goal was to be in the top 1%. And they had calculated to be in the top 1% of wealth. He needed about 15 million in net worth, excluding his home. So sometimes we talk about ultra wealthy. It's not billions of dollars, but we kind of classify that as 25 million or more. And, the framework that they use is really something that can be used for everybody as they're looking to build wealth and maintain it.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what we're going to talk about today, right? The big difference between those affluent families and everyone else isn't access. It's about coordination. So in this video, we're going to talk about the 6 pillars they focus on. We're going to talk about those outside forces that shape your wealth, and then how that internal discipline really separates the reactive investors from the strategic ones and really leads to that success long term. So, Rob, let's jump into these pillars first and begin with investing. I think everybody just kind of thinks, hey, that's the most obvious one, right? Is how do you build your portfolio? How do I have success with returns? But let's start with investing.
Yeah. I think a lot of times, and I've had some people come to me before and just met with another person who came in for one of our second opinions to be able to go through a discovery process. And they said, well, I heard on some podcast somewhere that all I needed to do was really buy about 15 stocks and 15 different industries. And boy, I don't think anything could have been further from the truth. As we look at these ultra wealthy families, a lot of times you're looking at focusing on global diversification and making sure that we don't have all our eggs sitting in one basket or picking just a few stocks. I kind of joked with him, if you remember where Blockbuster is at, or some of these other stocks that at one point in time seem to be, the giants aren't around anymore. And that's the reason why diversification is so critical. Also, alternative investments, private markets. There's a lot of private companies and they tend to stay private longer now. And how do we gain access to those types of markets to be able to have diversification in some of those private markets as well? And then just layering risk. As we talk about risk, there's so much more than just market risk that I think most people worry about, is a market going up or down, but a lot of other types of risks that's out there include, political risk, liquidity risk, and many other things that need to be layered into someone's financial situation.
Yeah, and I think, it's not only just the investment side, but also coordinating that with taxes. You got to coordinate it with estate planning, your liquidity needs. There's a real shift in the approach to investing that, those ultra wealthy have that not everyone else does.
Yeah, and you mentioned tax. That's kind of the second pillar that we wanted to mention out there. And really, it's not a once a year event that takes place, but should be a coordinated effort throughout the year. One thing we do with our clients that I'd recommend everyone talk to their financial professional is having a document that's just tax notes. That throughout the year, different conversations, we're taking down those notes, and then we're also coordinating with their tax professional periodically throughout the year, just touching base to make sure that we're all on the same page. And then at this point, time in year, and February, March, and April, we are emailing those notes as those individuals are getting ready to meet. So all of it's there, and we're trying not to have anything slip through the cracks. But you got to be very, very strategic in timing of income, long-term capital gains, Roth conversions, gifting. All of those things are important to have documented throughout the year that you're looking at.
Yeah, I find myself taking more and more notes now, Rob, just kind of day to day, just to kind of keep track of things throughout the year. I never really thought about applying it to taxes and tax planning, but it makes a lot of sense when you're trying to stay organized like that and just make sure you're not missing anything, because it's very, very easy for something to slip through the cracks, even a day or two after you've been thinking about it.
Absolutely. And I kind of joke with our clients, that's what they pay us for, is to help them stay organized and to be able to make sure that we're communicating with their professionals in a way that's really looking after their interests and trying to maximize that tax savings for them.
All right, I mentioned legacy planning earlier, Rob. We'll go ahead and talk about that one. That's the third pillar here.
Yeah, and this goes beyond a basic will. I mean, it includes a succession planning, multi-generational planning, as well as digital asset planning. And it was, if I get to share the story with you real quick here, Ben. We were at our team retreat just a couple weeks ago, and a client reaches out to me and says, "Hey, my mom is in the hospital, had some emergency surgery. Can we get together real quick?" And she just had a basic will package put together. And this client, they definitely fit in that ultra wealthy category. And we ended up sitting down with her siblings and going through a discovery process and put something together for mom. And I think so many people don't think about it till it's too late. But it really is just like a garden. It's got to be something that's looked at on a regular basis, manicured and reviewed periodically. The first quarter of every year, we're reviewing that with clients. And right now, we're finding clients come back and just a review with another client. He's like, "You know what? My dad and I, unfortunately, aren't speaking terms. And I think that I need to have him taken off of some of my estate planning documents." We've had that happen with siblings or other people, or maybe it's just unfortunate events in that person's life that maybe they don't serve in that capacity for you if you're not there anymore. So very important to take a look at that on a regular basis.
Yeah, and it's in the name of the show, right? Legacy beyond wealth. Legacy is so important, I know, for the families you work with and a lot of the conversations you have. But that is what the ultra wealthy are doing, right? They're looking at their legacy beyond just, hey, putting a will together. Let's shift gears a little bit here to pillar 4, Rob, which is risk management and cybersecurity. Look, for the longest time, the market was like the biggest risk, but man, there's just so many different risks out there that you have to protect yourself from.
You do. And I think a lot of times, I can think, especially for business owners, we're reviewing this most of the time in the second quarter meetings with them. But, their documents, their organizational documents, does it have documented what you do if a partner unfortunately passes away or gets divorced or is disabled, or there's a disagreement between the partnership? So many times we see those things actually being important to lay down and have that protection ahead of time, just to make sure that when any of those things happen, we've already got written down kind of a framework of what's going to take place. But even then, looking at insurances as well as strategies for trying to make sure that what you've worked hard for can't be taken unjustly from you. And that's, I think, very, very critical that most people probably breeze over and don't give enough consideration to.
Are you ready to unlock the freedom to live your best life? Schedule your no-cost 60-minute discovery meeting with our team today. During this session, we'll take the time to understand your family story and financial dreams. Together, we'll craft a personalized roadmap designed to help you achieve your goals. Let's explore how we can unlock the freedom for you and your family to thrive. Just click the link in the description of today's show to get started.
Yeah, that is an important one. And again, you want to have a plan in place and go through these different steps to make sure that you are protecting all these different areas that we worked so hard on. Pillar 5, Rob, might surprise a few people.
Yeah, it's structured giving. I mean, you look at it philanthropically, you want to have a strategy that's out there. We find a lot of the individuals that start to build wealth, start to look at it and say, "You know what? I want to give back to the community in some way, shape, or form." And they have different charities that are dear to their heart that they want to be able to help out with. Some of them, sometimes it's just a matter of volunteering. Others, it's giving back with assets. And if it's giving back with assets, we want to have a strategy and a plan that's going to be able to make a big impact to the charity, but also benefit you in the most financially beneficial way possible. Just met with a client the other day who became financially free and retired, I would say early by most people's standards. And we just talked to him what his best life looked like. And part of it was he still felt like he had a lot to contribute to society, maybe not in the form of working for a paycheck, but we talked about charities that he wanted to get involved in. And that was very important to have that strategy for him, just even on the volunteering side, where it maybe didn't involve a lot of dollars, but definitely a lot of time and consideration to get that value back that he can give back and contribute to society still.
Yeah, I like that story. That's a big one for a lot of people. Let's finish off with the sixth pillar here: lifestyle and health management. Rob, it might not be top of mind that hey, the ultra wealthy focus on their lifestyle and their health, but man, this is so important.
Yeah, when you think about it, wealth is nothing more than just a tool, right? And you ask yourself what's more important is wealth or health and quality of life. And I don't think anyone would want to give up their quality of life or health for a substantial amount of wealth. It just doesn't work that way. And so we want to make sure that there is a planning that takes place, conversations that are there. I mean, you're looking at wellness strategies, medical insurance. We had one of these clients that falls into this ultra wealthy that contacted us at the beginning of the year and said, man, just got my insurance premium increase. How do we navigate this? What do we look at? And so even then, you got to be able to look at that on a regular basis for when those insurance premiums increase and have strategies that can be able to make sure that your wealth is one of those top considerations for yourself.
All right, so that's the six pillars that the ultra wealthy focus on. Again, if you're ready to shift your thinking a little bit, the best place to start is a discovery call with Axio Wealth Management. Just go to axiowm.com. It's about a 60-minute call. You can hop on Zoom with the team there at Axio and start talking through some of these things. But again, these are the pillars that they focus on. Now, let's zoom out a little bit, Rob, and talk about some of the external factors because we can't be prepared for we can be prepared for everything, but we don't know what's life's going to bring us, right? There's a lot of stuff going on, especially right now. I think it's been as uncertain as ever. It seems like there's so many different factors, but what are the major external forces that investors have to monitor?
Yeah, I think there's four that we look at, and you have to remember, you can only control what you have control over, or the controllables, as that saying goes. And so, some of these external forces just remind us that we need flexibility in those pillars that we just talked about, and that's global economic trends that are out there, technological advances like AI, and how does that impact what's going on, regulatory changes. We always joke legislative risk is probably one that people don't think of often, but is always being discussed and debated about at government levels. And then geopolitical climate. And we've seen that definitely over the last 18 months, how that's had an impact as well.
Yeah, there's some big factors to focus on, but as you mentioned, those are out of your control. What is within your control, Rob, when you're talking about families and making sure that they're doing all they can to kind of achieve the same structure?
Yeah, so there's, when we take a look at it, 5 things that we're talking with families about. And one of those right now is, well, we can't control technology. How do we adopt it and utilize it in the family and in planning, which includes AI? It's a big conversation that's out there right now. Continuous education and always learning, and even the next generation, talking to them and how we helping them be able to learn about emotional well-being and money and the relationship between the two. Specialized expertise, multi-generational engagement, like we talked about, making sure that we're talking with all generations to make sure there's a great legacy there. And then, last but not least is personalized communication. How do we make sure that we're communicating in a way that's direct and effective for everybody?
Yeah, I think the big takeaway here, again, you don't need 25 million to be able to kind of follow this process and this structure, right? It's not about making these isolated decisions. It's about integration and making sure that everything you're working on and deciding on is working together. And Rob, when somebody begins that process with you guys at Axio and does a discovery call, how do you kind of help put them on track to follow this same structure?
Yeah, I think, we do what's called a preliminary financial assessment for everyone that comes in. And we list these different pillars that are out there. And we say, here's our observations from what we've talked about in our discovery meeting. And then from those observations, we're coming down and giving them opportunities that exist, some bullet point action items of what we see that they could be able to take advantage of. And, even if we're not the right fit, I think going through that, the feedback that we get from so many people who have gone through the process is that preliminary financial assessment in and of itself gave them significant value. And it's a great way to communicate the opportunities that exist out there from what we were able to observe.
Yeah, take advantage. Go to axiowm.com to get in touch with the team, begin that process with Axio. But so important, right? And we want to kind of shift your mindset and hey, take a few minutes this week to maybe think about your framework and kind of how you're approaching each of these different pillars. And if you need help, again, always feel free to reach out to Axio to begin that conversation. But Rob, thanks for taking us through this. I know this is a question a lot of people have about, hey, what can I be doing differently to reach those same levels of success? Well, this is a great place to start. So thanks for taking us through it.
Thanks, Ben.